Austin, you still talking about Batman? The movie's been out for 2 weeks. Can you move on?
We're still going.
What is up, Batman fans? Welcome back to my channel. Let's cut to the chase here. If you saw part 1 of this video, and I'll link that down below, we talked about 5 villains I believe should be in the sequel, or at least considered to the sequel, for the Batman. In this video, we are taking those villains, plus a couple more, and I'm giving you my Batman villain fan casting for each character. Now, for some, I'll have 1. For others, I'll have 3 to 4, but these are the actors I believe could represent those characters. Some are very obvious, and others, I was trying to be just a bit different, but it's hard when there's so many fan casting videos. Now again, I did this video like 3 years ago. We're going to have some that carry over and others that I'll be completely wrong about. I believe in my last video I said Andy Serkis would be good for Penguin, so got close. Sorta? Not really. By the way, if you'd like more fan castings from this channel, the best way to tell me is by dropping that thumbs up down below. Appreciate your support, and be sure to leave those comments. Let's talk about a character that I did not mention in my video, but I think I have 2 fairly solid options for. My first one is more of a popular opinion, but not necessarily for this character. I'm always seeing Alan Tudyk being cast as someone like a Scarecrow, but I think Alan Tudyk would be perfect for the Mad Hatter. Not only because he voices King Candy in Wreck-It Ralph, and he uses this voice. Obviously, he would not be using that voice for the Mad Hatter, but he has played wacky, zany, crazy characters before. Yes, he's in the DC universe in Doom Patrol, but we've heard him switch up his voice in multiple ways, from the Star Wars universe to an animated plethora of films and television shows. But he has that exaggerated personality, as well as being an awesome on-screen actor. Anytime you see Tudyk in the flesh, he's really good. So I just think Tudyk could embody that persona. Someone else who I want to give a chance, especially after seeing a movie on Netflix called The Devil All the Time, that is Harry Melling. We all know him as Dudley from Harry Potter, but after seeing The Devil All the Time and understanding that this guy has range, this guy is able to become someone that is extremely scary when given the opportunity. And Mad Hatter, you know, we've not necessarily seen that version on the big or small screen, but I would like to see that version. I think it would be very interesting. He has that look that you expect for a Mad Hatter, but I also think he can bring the energy required. So those are my 2 options for a character like Mad Hatter. What say you in the comments down below? Let's move into the next character, and that is Poison Ivy. With Poison Ivy, I'm going to keep it very simple, and I cannot get my mind off of Vanessa Kirby. I feel like that is the perfect person to play the version of Poison Ivy that I foresee them doing in this universe, and that is the villain who does fall into that gangster world, takes advantage of Bruce Wayne, and goes about it in an extremely ruthless way, and I feel like Kirby easily has the ability to do that. She is an incredible performer, and I feel like she could truly embody Poison Ivy. I tried to think of more people to play Poison Ivy, and I'm sure the casting director for the Batman will think of someone better inevitably, but as of now, all I see is Vanessa Kirby. That's my choice. Now, in my last video, I paired Poison Ivy up with Bane because I think they would go good together. Different power sets, different ways to kind of take advantage of the Batman. So let's talk about the obvious choice, and that is Dave Bautista. Everyone and the grandmother is fan casting Dave Bautista, and for good reason. He's incredible with his physicality, and I think he's become a pretty good actor over the years. I want to throw in someone else. Someone who we were just able to see in a brand new Amazon Prime series, that is Alan Ritchson in Reacher. Jack Reacher himself. The physicality is there. You know, they could very easily go with CGI. I mean, look at the Penguin. They were doing prosthetics top to bottom, and do it with someone who doesn't have that physicality, but I'm just going off of kind of what they did with Tom Hardy in the last series and what they could do with someone who's a bit bigger, but they have to have range. They have to have that ability. And Alan Ritchson, sure, he's been in Titans. He played Raphael in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. He was in the Hunger Games, but I never knew he had the range that he did until I watched Reacher. Now, I'm not sitting back saying he's the best actor we've ever seen, but I believe he could pull it off, and he has that intimidation factor. Go watch that show for a character like Bane. Can he become more intense with his voice? I think he can. I think he would be great for the character. That, honestly, that may be my top choice. Let's go with one of my honorable mentions in part 1, and that is the character of Scarecrow. And I'm sticking to my guns with my first choice. That is Sean Harris. Your mission, if you choose to accept that. It's not just the cool voice, right? We've seen him countless times, and we just saw him in Spencer play a more subdued and calm role, but I want to see Sean Harris go back to that Mission Impossible villainous world and hone in on the character of Scarecrow. I think he could do it. If you want to shoot for someone a little older, because my other choice is younger, the frame is there, the acting ability is there, and we know he can play a villain. Why not play this character? Now, my other choice is someone really unconventional. I would rather have Sean Harris, but if we want to go younger in the role, it came down to two. Part of me wanted to say Dane DeHaan, but I'm like, I feel like I've seen Dane DeHaan in every fan casting choice, blah, blah, that I've ever seen. I want to pull someone out of a hat that's a little different, that we've not really seen do this before, other than, and I'm going to issue a spoiler alert for the brand new Scream film. If you haven't seen that, skip about 30 seconds of this video. There's time codes down below. Just go to the next character. I'm going to talk about someone who played a villain in that movie, Jack Quaid. I know, it's weird, right? Because you think of The Boys, you think of the fact that Jack Quaid can play that really likable, humble, down-to-earth, everyman type character. But what I saw in Scream, plus his look, the way that Jack Quaid looks, he carries himself, he has that, what I feel like, Scarecrow-esque physique, whatever that means. I think he has the range, because I thought he was a pretty compelling, and some people saw the twist coming, this and that. But when he went off, when he was a little unhinged, I saw something in him that said he could be a villain. Now, what would he be a villain in? I don't know. If they want to go younger with Scarecrow, I think Jack Quaid could be an interesting choice. Again, I'm more so on Sean Harris, but I wanted to try to find someone that I've not seen fan casted anywhere. And Jack Quaid, who is also going to be in Christopher Nolan's new movie, would be a good choice. The next person I want to talk about is someone that I didn't get a chance to mention in my last video, but you all brought some very compelling points to that comment section, saying there's now an opening with the DA in Gotham City, that is Harvey Dent, so an introduction for him could absolutely be warranted in this sequel. But I'm sticking to my guns on this. The first one is very obvious, but it's one I've had in my brain for literally 3 years, because I mentioned it in 2019. That is Jon Hamm as Two-Face. I just feel like Jon Hamm has everything you want as this character. I just saw Tag again a couple of days ago. Don't know why that's the movie I think of, but this guy has range. He has the ability, and I know he could play a villainous character, but with Two-Face, you have to play both sides of the coin. That's a pun. That's a pun. You must be likable. You must look trustworthy, but you also must fall into that villainous state. Jon Hamm can do those things. I know he can do those things, so he is my first choice. Now, another one, less conventional, another one that I've talked about before and have been talking about for years, and I really love this guy. I want him to have an opportunity. That is Andre Holland. Selma, Moonlight, 42, High Flying Bird, The Eddie, recently Passing. I think this guy has so much freaking range. He can go from likable to someone that you don't know whether or not you can trust him. He is smooth. I feel like the people of Gotham would see him, accept him, know that we can trust him, but oh my goodness, there is that turn into this Two-Face persona. And I know Andre Holland has the chops to do it. So Andre Holland, for me, is like right up there with Jon Hamm. These have always been my two choices for Two-Face, and I just think they would crush it, especially with what they've been doing, specifically Holland, over the last couple of years. He is my second choice for Two-Face. Let's move into the next character, and that is Clayface. I'm sticking to my guns. This is someone I have been theorizing and fan casting as, the perfect character for Clayface. And then I saw The Invisible Man, and I'm like, oh my God, Oliver Jackson Cohen from The Haunting of Hill House fame, from Bly Mansion, another great one in the Hill House universe. But when I saw what he was able to do, that villainous turn in The Invisible Man, where he played a truly terrifying character, that's what Clayface becomes. Now, obviously, you're going to be utilizing a lot of CGI. He's also a very likable person in The Haunting of Hill House. And the tragedy of this actor, this character, losing his good looks, becoming this horrifying monster, I feel like he could play that. Clayface would be an awesome villain for this universe because he's a little outside the box, but there's still that relatability. I'm spending too much time on this. He's a great actor. Look him up. Mr. Ra's al Ghul, or Ra's al Ghul, I feel like this is a character that they have to bring back eventually, right? Whether or not Batman trained with the League of Shadows, we don't know what happened in those first 2 years. We know he trained with Alfred, but to bring him into this universe eventually and maybe already have that connection with Bruce Wayne. I'd be curious to see if he could be a part of this universe, but who's going to play him? Well, I will admit, I stumbled across this fan casting on Twitter like a year ago, so I can't possibly remember who said it, but that's the only time I've seen it. Therefore, I am going to be choosing Jason Isaacs, who I actually met a couple of months ago in New York at a screening for Mask. Jason Isaacs is an incredible actor. He has every ounce of range. Everyone knows him from Harry Potter, but just go watch Mask that just came out on VOD a little bit ago. It's one of the best performances of last year. You know, there's that emotion and still, but there's also that anger and rage that I know he can portray. And Ra's al Ghul is all of those things in the comic books. He looks like Ra's al Ghul. He feels like Ra's al Ghul. How is this not the perfect casting? I don't know. Try to name someone better. I'll wait. Andrea Beaumont. If you don't know who that is, go watch Batman Mask of the Phantasm. So technically this is my casting for the Phantasm. It's hard to, you know, lend a voice to that character because once the mask goes on, okay, whose voice is it going to be? I didn't get that far, but I wanted to fan cast for Andrea Beaumont. I feel like that would be an interesting character in this universe, and I have 3 options. My first option is Olivia Cooke. Yes, she was in Ready Player One, that's the blockbuster, but 3 movies that are smaller films, but 3 of my favorite movies of those respective years, Me, Earl, and The Dying Girl, Thoroughbreds, which she played Amanda, and this is kind of where I'm getting my range from, and then Sound of Metal, where she was incredible in that film. Olivia Cooke has the range. She's probably my top choice for this character because you have to have someone who feels and seems trustworthy, and this is kind of a reoccurring trend with these Batman villains. But I would also believe it if she were to turn on the character of Bruce Wayne. That's where a lot of my encouragement comes from these 3 castings. Someone else, and my next choice for this character that I would believe if she turned against Bruce Wayne, that is Samara Weaving. Yes. 3 Billboards, Bill and Ted, but of course, Ready or Not. Ready or Not was the one where I saw what she could do and I said, put her in DC, Marvel, doesn't matter. Just put her in something big like that because this girl deserves to get paid. She is such an incredible actor, and to portray the character of Andrea Beaumont, it takes a lot in terms of range. I think she has that range, and that's why I'm going with my final choice here as well. Nathalie Emmanuel from the Fast and Furious saga, the Maze Runner movies, and of course, Game of Thrones. I have always loved her ability to be able to take on whatever persona she is playing in a movie or a television show, and to play someone like Beaumont, you have to have that ability to go in so many different directions. I think she has that. I would believe it if she turned. I think she fits the persona of the character very well, and I just love her as an actor. So it's really hard to choose between the 3. I think those are 3 excellent choices for that character, and again, I want to see Phantasm on the big screen. I think that would be a great villain. Next up, and this is someone that I don't know if we're ever going to get this character because, again, they did a lot with Riddler in the live-action movie that made it feel like he was a version of Hush. And you also have what they did in the animated film where there was a little bit of a reveal that tied those characters even closer together. But if we do get a separate entity, someone else as Hush, and sent Batman on a little bit of a different mystery of sorts, I believe Christopher Abbott would be great as the character of Hush. Someone who can get a little more eccentric than maybe what you expect from this villain. Someone who looks scary. I mean, just look at his face here. My goodness. So it would stink to cover up Christopher Abbott's face because the dude can do so much with his eyes. That's why I'm not sure if he would be wearing that throughout the entire film. But Abbott is an actor who I would love to see play a villainous character who takes Batman on a journey. And there is some sort of culmination at the end of the movie because he's also a villain with great physicality. So not only can he play that deceptive character, but he also has a little bit of fight in him as well. I don't think we'll ever see Hush, to be honest, but he is definitely on my wish list, and Christopher Abbott is someone who I would just love to see join this Batman universe. We talked about the Court of Owls. My favorite assassin, my favorite character from that group is Talon. There are the Talons, and then one specifically, William Cobb, who has varied different ages throughout the comics. I'm obviously going with this specific age range and giving you 2 options. My first option is Jack O'Connell, Unbroken, 71, Little Fish, with Olivia Cooke, both of which give phenomenal performances there. Jack O'Connell has that grit right? He has that intimidation factor. There's actually a movie with he and the next person I'm going to choose where they are together, and they are both kind of the type of character, maybe switch up the accent just a bit, that I would like to see from Talon, someone who's on his last legs. We saw him in the animated film with Robin try to manipulate Robin, so you need someone who's able to do that, who is intimidating but trustworthy, who is willing to turn on anyone at any point. I think Jack O'Connell can do that. I also think Charlie Hunnam can do that. Listen, I know people want to give the King Arthur movie crap. I understand that. But at the same time, he was really good in that film, and he was great in a movie like The Gentleman, and the film that I just mentioned where he starred with Jack O'Connell. Can he play a ninja? That's the thing that I'm questioning. I'm like, can Charlie Hunnam or really Jack O'Connell? I mean, they don't really strike me on their surface of someone that can play a ninja, but at the same time, I look at like Christian Bale, and prior to Batman Begins, could he play a ninja-type character? Because that's really what Batman is in Batman Begins, and they get Liam Neeson to do that. So, like, if Liam Neeson can play Ra's al Ghul, then Charlie Hunnam or Jack O'Connell can play Talon and just kind of disappear into that world, if that makes sense. So I like both of these as actors for this choice, and the range on both actors will work extremely well, from King Arthur to being a gangster in The Gentleman. Why not add a ninja character to their resume? All right, the obvious one, Mr. Freeze. Not going to do a Joker fan casting because, come on, we've seen the movie. This is one that is so difficult because the obvious choice, the one that a lot of people have been saying and continue to say, and I'm like, yeah, I agree. Bryan Cranston would be perfect, and not just because he plays a bald guy in Breaking Bad. You don't have to be bald to play Mr. Freeze. You can be bald in the movie. You know what I mean. So Bryan Cranston, great choice, easy choice. Another easy choice, and actually someone that I saw in my comment section, I said, yeah, that's great. I'll give you a shout out right here. Daniel Craig as Mr. Freeze. I love that, man. I love that. Use that Bond-ish voice. Go into a darker place. Would fit into the tone of this world. I think that is a great call. So that's one I'd love to see. But my two more, I guess, technically outside of the box choices is one that I've been saying for years and one that I'll stick with. Stanley Tucci as, it's because he's bald. It's not because he's bald. Although he is bald, it does kind of look like Mr. Freeze. Stanley Tucci, the guy, has every bit of range you could ever ask for from an actor, whether it be the Doctor in Captain America, the First Avenger, a big part of the Hunger Games franchise, to Oscar-winning film Spotlight, numerous Oscar-winning and nominated films. He's one of the best in the business. But to be one of the best in the business and still not have played that hardcore villainous roles when he has the range that he has, but he also needs to get emotional in this movie because of the storyline with his wife. Stanley Tucci can do it. He can go from playing that very nerdy-looking doctor in Captain America, the First Avenger, to Mr. Freeze in the Batman universe. He is a great choice. Now, my next choice, and my final choice, is one that I actually had this guy for Ra's al Ghul in my last fan casting video. But I kept thinking to myself, I put the voice and the actor with this character in my head, and I said to myself, what if, and listen, this guy plays a villain in every single movie that he's in, so I'm not changing, I'm sure he's been fan casted before this, I'm not changing the game here. What if Giancarlo Esposito played Mr. Freeze in the Batman movie? What if? What if Gus, or Moff Gideon, or, I even love his role in The Boys, what if he played Mr. Freeze? And to be one of Batman's greatest foes, which I believe he would be in this film, but be played by an actor as prestigious as this? I'm going to Comic-Con next weekend. He's going to be there. I'm going to go up to him and say, listen, I need you as Mr. Freeze, pal. I think it would be perfect. I think it would absolutely be perfection. So he, to be honest with you, and it's funny because Bryan Cranston, well, they're both from Breaking Bad, he is one of my, if not my top choice for this character. I just think he fits the bill from top to bottom. And to be able to deliver an Oscar-worthy performance as Mr. Freeze, well, that would be different because it's normally just the Joker. This is one of my favorite ones of this entire video, and I am super excited to see if any of these play out. Could you tell I was passionate about this? This is some of the most fun I've ever had making a video on this channel. So much fun, but obviously my choices, they're not right. I need your all's thoughts, choices. How do you feel about my choices? Down below. And the best thing to do if you like this video, if you want to see more fan casting videos, the thumbs up button, it tells the algorithm and YouTube you enjoyed it, gets the word out there a little bit more. We are back in the game, man. Lots of videos coming to this channel over the next couple of days, over the next week. Appreciate you big time for joining me. Stay tuned for plenty more content and hopefully more fan casting videos. See you guys.